So I have started the conversion process of preparing for the school religiously because it is a religious school partly and everything. It's open to religious, with multiple religions and non-religious as well, if you're really that type of person, and if you can actually be respectful of people who are, of course. And moving on to the next detail of getting used to their school schedule. And after that, they'll have a lot of different stuff to go over, and I'll update a video on that when I get to that, and then to point out what it kind of took to get to that level. It's OOTH day, and I did my hair for the morning so now I can finish and do the rest of the note about getting how I got to this level. I will be switching back over to my phone after. I don't need it, but that's fine. For now, we're going to use this and I'll switch back. But to go over a few basic things, that is checklist. And I have the list of things that I was required to go through and what you're going to be expected to go through to do this school. Since they have it for all levels and ages, you can get better than GD, like if you left school early or you're forced out of school early by some idiot people like my family, or considering most schools are just inferior, they don't do very well at all, they're just real lazy, especially around here. You'll be expected to have to do a few things, obviously, to switch over. You go down and you just sign up and say, hey, I'd like to do this or be a student. And they'll go over a lot of information or certain things. They'll be like, okay, and just be as simple as honest as possible, no big deal. And then you get a approval, you're going to have to switch over or convert over from what you're used to, and they'll have a whole guide or anything for that, and then you get finish that kind of detail on more information. You'll have more school information oriented information that you need to give them in order to be on the list, obviously. When you do that, and they'll have some steps and some things to do for you, and that's no big deal. And once you finish that and you submit everything that you need to do, you get approval and IDs. You can get set up and you have to submit information for those IDs. You have definitely need a temporary photo for that. They'll get later. We'll be doing professional photos, so that's really gonna be interesting. But you gotta do that, and then you get some temporary cards for your levels until you're actually at the location. Because for now, at the start, they're kind of get you used to how it is and how those lessons are going to be and everything before you become a full-blown student, so you don't waste their time or something. But once you get the cards and finish every checklist that they kind of give you, here's some things you need to do, and you just do them. It's not hard, and there's not much to do, really. I think I'll go over that kind of stuff at some point, I suppose. But, you have to then start and submit anything you need to do. And then you have some language to adjust to, like Latin. There is definitely Latin, because the services are all in Latin. You're going to need to know them, and you're going to have to start getting used to Latin services, as well as start getting used to the service type, because it's primarily Catholic. So you have to get adjusted to the sit, stand, and kneel situation, as well as start doing a few things in order to, if you want to fully take part in them. You also do other religions, obviously, or non-religious at all, but you do need to respect them, and you do need to kind of go for everything. It's not really that big, unimportant, huge problem. At least they do not have the negativity that the church is so-called known for. They're the very old church one, and very long-lasting, pretty well standing, and haven't had problems like that, and they actually deal with these. Anything that comes up, so just say something if something, or a question or whatever. When you finish some preparation with like the Latin, the service type, and switching over to the from your usual, especially because it's a private school and it's like a boarding and it's like this elite type-ish kind of thing, but without being those dumb ones. You have got some approval, and then you got some habit tracking and adjustment. You're going to have to get used to some better food, better fitness, better classes, better lessons, better information, and better activities, and groups, and clubs, and staff, and everything. You need to get adjusted to that, but primarily you're going to have to adjust to much better food and nutrition, and much better fitness and activities, and learning and adjust to being ready to actually learn and study, and because you're going to be doing that quite a bit, much better than any other place has been, and they are very high quality. So you're going to want to be adjusted to a few different things. Like I'm currently being adjusted to how the food is put in like bentos, where there's chopstick days of foods, not just the meals that you would use chopsticks or certain um, different culture foods, but there's also uses where they'll be like, you can use chopsticks here, and we'll get used to different utensils and be a little more culturally broad and be used to some nice things. And it'd be kind of cool, honestly, because when I went through the whole thing and going over it all, it's like, that is freaking cool. So, get adjusted to it and get adjusted then to different levels that's going to be happening, and that they're going to start you off kind of in a level that seems way too easy for you, and then they're going to ease you right into where you need to be. Don't be insulted by it, because that's just lame. There's no reason they have to scale you based upon the low standards of regular schools and other public schools, because their levels are different and they do have a better educational status, and they do have better education, they have better results, they have great successes and job training and better things. So you might want to be prepared to think your expectations of where public school might be up, you think is here, private school you think might be here, but in reality you're kind of far down here, and the school's actually here or something. Where like so, it might really depend, especially with the lazy schools, because there's a lot, especially in my area, they're really cheap about it and very not like great quality, and there's so much disrespect and stupidity right here. And a very important thing to get adjusted to when you get to another level or get worked on to preparing for it is they're going to have you go through some adjustments and evaluations to make sure what you're used to and what you're not used to. Boarding and not boarding depends on all your ages as well and everything. And if you're going to board or not, if you're going to use the train, which is their own thing. And there's also, a big attitude adjustment some people are going to need to have. So I would not have an attitude. These people have disrespect for people, they have disrespect for others, disrespect for themselves, attitude problems, everything. And the school goes through and very much works with you and adjusts things as needed, because you need to a good attitude and a good personality. Because if you're gonna be obnoxious, crazy, or harassing, or abusive, or just abusive family members, they're definitely gonna tell you the difference. What normal family is versus not, and stuff. And you'll just go through it. If you're a normal person and respectful and not crazy like most other people nowadays, especially that I've seen around here, you'll be fine. And after you get through to that final point, you get to finish this, what they call the setup stage. So if you think about the levels like as if you're starting from when you're before you're born and like being signed up, like being, hey, you're the kid, like why don't you sign them up kind of thing, and they signed you up ahead of time. It's like a prep they kind of view as like, here's the first level, and it's going to be like 0 to newborn, as they label it. And it's like all the necessary things it would take to set everything up, and you have to update as you go, and after technically born is where the kid would be, information be updated and everything like that, you know? It's sort of like that, having it all set up, so they kind of label it 0 to newborn, or level 0 to newborn. So it's an interesting and unique way to label it, because they do have those kind of sign-ups. And they even have sometimes parents will sign up before they even have the kid to be like, hey, I want my future kids to go to this school. Do I qualify as a parent that potentially good standings that I might have to have your kids go to school? So it's like, cool. It's pretty popular enough to do that, you know, so it's pretty easy to do. And it's not many steps and everything, obviously, or requirements. And it took not that long. They're going to be taking place and going into the United States. They start in Ireland. And they'll be moving or making an additional school like they do in other places, but also around here. And I am part of the few students. There are students that are going to be switching over or converting over to the United States or the States from the other locations, and they're preparing them for that, or their families will be moving, and everything is like fine for that. So there's a few that are actually going to be doing in various ages and levels that we have to be all set up for. Some people be moving, traveling over there to do levels. Some people are doing online. Like my prep is currently preparing for it, and then it'll be going physically when they got that all worked out, and it'll be pretty soon. I actually technically believe there's like a lot of prep and stuff for their side to do all that kind of thing, obviously. So it's plenty of time for anyone to really pre-prepared and ready to go. Definitely be prepared for a lot of holidays that are related to Catholic and other things, and how certain holidays are going to have a true meaning properly instead of like the commercial stuff. There's going to be commercial elements or like some of the for fun stuff, obviously, but mainly, there's a lot of different holidays. You should have expected to see them. Don't expect, and most definitely don't fake your way through, because you're going to regret that. And anybody who's actually faked and pretended to do things, especially when you have to submit real stuff and everything, and actually do the work and submit the stuff, and you just literally outright don't do things and just pretend to be a student, you get kicked out naturally, because you're wasting everyone's time, other students' time, even to get to know you, all the staff, everybody's got to there to actually get you through the levels and prepare you for the actual school and everything. And It just makes no sense to waste everyone's time and your own. So, with the school being pretty darn unique and quite impressive, there's a lot of different things you need to do that you don't do these things on your own. You're supposed to be given the guide to it and not do it automatically. When you're signing up, you're given the guide and they go through, you're approved, and you're signed everything up, and you filled all the information, then they're like, okay, yeah, you're ready to go. Are you ready to go? Would you like to continue, or would you like to, everything checks out, everything's good, that kind of stuff. So then, you go through the guide, and with them, the first thing you do have to pick out is a house. They do have houses. Lion. They've had these for 1600s. So, lion, which is mine, I picked. Raven, badgers, and serpent. There's 4 base houses. Just like any UK, in case you're not familiar, they usually use a animal mascot for schools. They do have a crowned lion, actually, they refer to as the main school mascot, so the lion is kind of popular, I would say. So if there's space for that house that you want, then you're good to go. You might need to pick a secondary because there might not be space in that one if they're your first choice, but that's fine. Usually, if you're really sure about it, they'll just have you on a wait list till there's space on that house. So, they really depend on that. That's your first option thing to figure out. If you're not used to UK and British or international schools or private schools, they have houses. And it really depends and based upon things, and based upon their history and certain things of the school, and that's how that is. So, once you have the house thing out of the way, and you realize, and get that, past that weird part for your idea of wow, houses are a strange thing. Once you're past that, and over yourself, the next thing you have to work on, or think about, is going to be what realm you're in. Everything is sorted into a certain list of realms, and they will tell you what those are, sort of thing. And this is a little different to other schools. They like to have that more unique level of having a sub-group, or sub-houses in a way, where multiple people are loaded, different ones, and there's many different houses in each realm. They could have all the houses for that matter in the realm, and the realms just categorized a little differently. I picked for mine, and you will be picked and go through yours. It really depends upon what you want, and they'll give you the options and all that for it. It's really for most certain game, and then categorizing you into the classrooms and categories so they don't have everybody all in one classroom at one time. After you get through all the questions and all the setup of that, then they go through information on your religious detail and any related things, and then go through the group categories, or the category for the realm and house you're in. They set that up with you and go through that. Then you have to go through what the religious setup of your own and the new information, because there is a Catholic school primarily, after all. And there's some of the stuff like I've said, the sit-stand meal, the different holidays, the various differences, and things like that they will start you going through. You'll be given the basic information before you start in. Now this could take months or years depending how fast you pick this stuff up. And they usually go by week to week, and everything's sectioned off into weeks, but if you take more than a week, that's fine. You just take more than a week. And it really depends on each level and week. They just add more things to it so you get adjusted and used to things before you get into actual level prep. Like I said, this is kind of like 0 to 1 to 0 to born, as it were. So that's like preparing you for all this stuff, and then you'll just automatically be used to it by then. So then the first week is a rotation where you're going to get used to some things. And by the way, if you're on the first particular week where they give you like, this is what's going to be for the breakfast rotation, this is going to be the meal rotation, this is the reasoning behind the rotation, and for what everything's set on. That's you in your first week and you're actually doing this too, and where I've been through it. Awesome, welcome to the school, because this is the easy, so easy. You're already technically considered a student, or a student in training, or prepared. So be prepared, you're going to be getting more advanced levels, and you're technically a student, or almost a student. And then the school of mine, when they're teaching you, or they're preparing you for things, and they actually have you on the first prep week, you're technically a student. So awesome. So the first thing is like breakfast, that's going to rotate with hot food, cereals, cold cereals, limiting certain things like the grains, and starting you on watching certain documentaries and being used to some of the scheduling, how things go. They want you to start learning things about health and the world a little better, so you're like better prepared for everything, and it's not going to be a big shocker, like hot foods, cold foods, baked. Don't forget there's going to be a definite traditional English breakfast time. We're always going to happen in school. And expect that it's going to be like that. And it's going to be pretty cool breakfasts all the time. And the meal days are going to be a thing where there's going to be a limited on certain foods are going to be rotated, where you're not hitting a certain thing all the time. Like a vegetarian day is going to happen. If you are vegetarian, you're pretty much already going to be used to that part anyway. Important nutrients like a fish day, for instance, or something like if you're allergic to fish or seafood things, there's alternatives that they always have for everything to work through everything. And they will have all that special setup for ahead of time, and they give you a note so you can like track it, and you'll be doing it personally at home and tracking. Say, how well are you successful at this? How well are you handling this? Can you do this? Can you afford something like this? And they'll also be rotating and trying to get you into more culinary or cultural foods and tools. So you're going to probably need to know and be given your requirement list of some things you're going to have to own on your first week, which is why they kind of consider you a student already. You do need to learn and own some items, and they will tell you that. So these are some items. You can actually get them in certain themes if you want, obviously, or colors. They're up to you. And then personalize them. You have a water infuser that comes as a set with a larger one. A regular water bottle for now, like this. The regular normal bento that fits the standard that they want, particularly on these. It's like a salad bowl. It's like this. So And then one of these, this, 2 different types of chopsticks, normal ones, and a kid one, which is like smaller like this. For drops, these go with that though, and whatever theme sandwich thing you want. And that's the starting point. You may also want a variety of these cups to go in the different things as separators and stuff, and they come in a set of several different sizes and shapes. Make sure you also grab one of these. Those are for condiments and stuff, and definitely these, which you can't tell. They're like 2-ounce ones. You're gonna need these. So there's body wash for the bathing, and it's the typical whatever it happens to be that they would request you to have. That's what I have. There's also in-shower lotion. Usually you should match the things together. There's also lotion after the showering. Again, to kind of match each other. And a matching bar for washing as well for that set. Then there's also shampoo and conditioners, as ones I have, and they will guide you on that too as well. And it should be appropriate and correct and in the best quality possible, of course. I'll be doing voiceover later, so point. There's a case with a finishing brush, a wire brush, and a daily comb, along with all the hair ties and clips, storage. You're going to need lip care and chapstick. I also have this, and also salt containers, kind of necessary. You also have to have a humidifier, humidity and temperature monitoring device so you can tell. A spray bottle that, actually there's 2 for water, and they'll tell you about that. A obvious necessary laptop that is capable of gaming, because there's going to be some fair use. A mobile device, which is usually an iPad, for certain requirements. A wireless, and usually I have a headset that also has a mic attached, kind of set. Obviously a phone that can connect with other devices to match together. Week 2 is a little easier once you've finished week 1, and they give you a complete list for the Catholic tradition or certain information and resources, as well as the guide for the sit, stand, and kneel. And you start getting used to those things. You'll also be getting used to services happening and getting used to seeing them and getting used to what they're like, because you're going to be seeing a lot more of them. So another thing for another level you're going to want to get used to and adjust to for the 3rd week is actually clothing. And before they give a uniform, of course, you're going to want to be used to like the uniform changes and adjustments and everything. They won't happen immediately where you have to get used to the uniform itself or be prepared to wear it. But there'll be a lot of season changes related to the uniforms, different uniforms throughout the day depending on the activity or what's necessary or whatever. And you'll be introduced by not having to get the uniform, but using your own clothes, the requirement to kind of like go through some random clothes and go, this is for gym, you know, if you were for a workout, you'd want to use this for the gym, for instance, or if you want to do cleaning, you'd want to use this, so if you just showered, you're going to want something to wear for this, or a robe for after bathing, etc. Night clothes separate from the day clothes. Inside shoes versus outside shoes will be necessary soon, but you won't need that immediately, but you might as well have plans for it. As well as bathroom slippers. That will become that. I do know that, and I am getting to that level. You also maybe want, well, it all depends on the activities. Like, plan, and they go through it with you, and sort out what clothes for what, and what you should maybe expect, and get used to it over time. After you do your week 3 with clothing and accounting for, also noting all the holidays, it's week 4. Routine, holiday details, and seasons. Along with week 4, with the routines, seasons, and holidays, but the routine section is going to be a lot of certain things that they're going to guide you through like this. Just like they did with me, it's an important step, and they will guide through everything and give you all the information, including the supplies you need. The school holidays and seasons are the most important thing to keep in mind of when you're getting used to the school, because starting out it's like there's a huge list of like 50 holidays, and there's 6 different seasons and sections of it, and on top of that there's more religious holidays, or just the Catholic calendar, and then there's the Irish calendar holidays. They do like to go through and make sure you know the routines and certain things, so that you're prepared for a lot of things, especially hygiene related routines, and then there's other routines, including the religious routines, because you're going to get used to them. The school having a lot of tradition and history, especially being Irish, with a lot of royal British influences, and especially in its time at the start when that was ruled then in Ireland. Expect to throw out all that stupid garbage Irish stereotypes, especially that Guinness beer thing, the Blarney Stone, little people with making shoes, and gold little coins at the end of rainbows. It's not a Lucky Charms box Irish. We're talking about real traditional stuff and real Irish things and heritage and traditions and stuff that are actually Irish and important. Not people getting drunk and getting into fights, or red hair being a stereotype. It's a stereotype and it's some kind of trademark to a lot of people, but it's not. It's also still a stereotype thing. Like a lot of stuff. And the tourism stuff is only there because of tourism, not for a legitimate reason. Anyone who's Irish actually there doesn't usually like that stuff, and the ones who are all for it is because it's just stuff for tourism and bring in money and people. So don't expect for any of that to go over well at school, because they are proper Irish and a real tradition. So you're going to have to throw all of that makeshift stuff and tourist attraction stuff up. So be prepared for that. Start getting used to a lot more tea times. Not just the drink, but the food that goes with tea. And several times. And after all that, and you get through everything, and you're on to week 5, behavior. This is a very important level. People nowadays have a huge issue with respect, self-respect, proper behavior. There's rudeness, there's ridiculous things, there's Karens, entitlement, as I said, Karens. People who just do all sorts of crazy things. And if you're at this point and you don't make it through week 5 and you've gone through flawlessly and worked out everything just fine with the rest of the weeks, and then you're like kicked out at week 5, it's because you're an idiot or a Karen or something, and you're just not respectful enough and you haven't learned anything. It's only your own fault. They only have respectful people who respect different religions, different cultures, different languages, different ethnicities, different gender, whatever, everything. You should respect one another and other people and things. And people can barely respect each other. And it's really ridiculous nowadays, but that's what makes the school great, because people really are respected. You respect others, and people are not judged ridiculously, and people aren't Karens. And it's a thing you're going to have to be adjust to or deal with. People actually decent and nice. There are people who certainly are not and will harass and make things up about other people or whatever, and you just learn to work with them and around them and know that they are not great, very good people. And that's fine, because they're not part of the school. You'll never find those kind of people around the school. If you're disrespectful, ignorant, make up lies, harass people, or insulting or rude, if you're not respectful, violent, hateful, narcissists. So only those kind of people are going to make it past. And if you go through that and you work perfectly fine through week 5, it's not really that hard if you're a normal person. The best thing is they respect people so well in the school that even people with disabilities or other problems, any sort of thing, are perfectly welcome. And it's a common thing. You better learn, number 1, what a service dog is, how to properly behave around them, or service animal, what's properly allowed to be a service animal, and a huge difference between emotional support, service animal, and therapy, because the school is going to be very specific about it to make sure you learn it as well. If you are past week 5 and you've been finished all the way through and they consider you're on week 6, then you're like, and be told, of course, that it's week 6. That's extra information and religion. And religion is going to be very specific about each person, of course, but also the school's traditions, standards, and the basic religion, and traditions of the religion in the school that they use, and it's what's expected of you, regardless of your religion, and regardless if you're religious at all. And that information is going to have to be given and guided you through it. And if you're at that point, that means you didn't waste anyone's time, and you're successfully through that level and other stuff. And you're not being a jerk, or haven't been, at least. And I'd certainly hope that you wouldn't be after that. That means you're in a very good position right now. If you're actually at that point where I was, then that's awesome. Hopefully you don't fail or be a jerk or an action jerk and just going through it. So everything will be really good for the normal people who are behave themselves and are respectful and follow everything accordingly and do everything that's necessary to go through the process to join the school, to get you all situated and sorted and used to everything that you're expect to see and do at the school. So that you've completed week 6 and you go through an entire week of preparation, going through everything from start to beginning, making sure you're doing everything you need to do and know everything you need to do, and you haven't skipped anything, haven't forgotten anything, or need any help with anything, and you're used to all the stuff that they go through, which is why they go week by week. You're going to be moved to week 7. And that's the big one. 7 is a big number and very important in this school. 6s and 7s are a huge thing and point. Week 7 is going to help you go through anything that needs to be done, and forms. Very important. Forms and things that need to fill out and deal with. And you'll be moving on to another stage or point for your life for this as a new student. And once you have that, it also includes agreements to follow school rules and the protocols and be respectful, etc. Typical and pretty normal things. It also might start asking certain interests in certain things that you may be interested in doing, like extra other activities. You may want to start thinking about that. And they will go through and wait an entire week on this point usually as well. Like I said before, any week may take just the week, maybe take longer, maybe take months. It depends on how long you need to go through to prepare for this school. After you do forms at the end of week 7, you have to wait, and if it goes well and approved of, you'll be moving on to the next step, which is actually section 2, or week 8. You finish stage 1, and remember, all this prep is necessary if you're serious about it, and not just wasting their time or playing around. But if you've been at this step, or been at it before, or currently at it, welcome to stage 2. A highly important point in your school sign-up process. And welcome. Now it's going to be time to continue. So the next step is a week long, and it's to mostly get a few items you're going to need ahead of time before the main supply list is given for this level or this section, to get things you need ahead of time that you might not be able to get or something later, or that you are going to need in general in order to be prepared for everything and to get yourself ready. That's going to be some important notes and the steps and information that you're going to need to move forward. And it's going to be a week long, whether you kind of need it all or not. Sometimes they will allow those things go weeks to be maybe a little shorter, depending if you can read it good faster, but not usually recommended. Most of the other ones actually cannot be rushed. A few examples and some items would be a snack bag, not usually a choice, a air filter with a HEPA, it has to be true, a remote controlled light, and it has to be able to have dimming to 3 levels, orange, yellow, and of course the white and blue for the on and off. A toothpaste container, or hold your toothbrush and toothpaste and everything, and you can decorate however you want, and whatever theme you wanted it to be in can be done. A iPad, basically tablet stand, that's very necessary, and of course a light that's orange, usually on off switch for nighttime. After you have all that done, it's time for the guide. And the guide is going to take you through everything for a week. And at that point, it's going to take a whole week, likely. No one really skips ahead on those kind of things. They're just preparing. And the guide's going to be important, and it's going to be really the next step that's important. Guides are very much required in order to go through everything to make sure you've got everything you need before moving on. Because the next step is a checklist and supplies. And if you don't have the checklist and supplies and the preparation it takes to do before getting the full checklist and supplies, then you're not really going to be ready for everything. And it's very important you are ready, because checklist and supplies is going to be a huge point in your life. And this is a big deal, because a checklist and supplies means you're going to the school. Now it's time for the 5-step process and purity. Number 1, prepare. and that is preparing for a lot of different things in all the steps. And there is a purity, and when I say purity, I will cover that. But there is a preparation for everything and purity. Because you don't want to be a problem person, you don't want to be moralist and other things, and you don't want to be doing things and causing trouble or being disrespectful, kind of like part of the other prep. But there is some preparation to go through to prepare you for all 5 steps to get you into the school, because soon you'll be done with the preparation. Next is connection, and it's going to be a very important step. Connection is going to be a very important part because you are going to be dealing with a lot of things, and if you're religious, you're going to want to be very well connected with the religion and such, and in your spiritual areas, but also the school, and there's also going to be connection with staff and everyone that's going to be helping you get through everything as well, and other students and other people, and that interactions with people, and preparing for what's inevitably going to be a brand new kind of life. Your lifestyle's gonna kind of change. Lots of things are going to be a little different, and it's, after all, a school, and it's an amazing school, after all. And you really need to be prepared for more interaction, better education, and being aware that you have a lot of things that require connection and interaction. Next is committing, and you are committing yourself to this new lifestyle, this school, to doing as best you can, to doing everything you need to do, to doing the rules, following the rules, doing all your requirements, having everything you need, making sure you keep on top of everything, and health and fitness and nutrition. You have to go through a lot of stuff to get that done. And there's a big commitment that you are going to not waste anyone's time. But more importantly, you're not wasting your own time, after all. Similar to the first one, promise. You are promising to do everything you're supposed to and abide by the rules, and if you do not, you're allowed to be kicked out when inevitably things go too far and they can't really deal with you anymore, or you're just not a good fit, or you're causing too much of a problem, or other usual and typical reasons a school can kick someone out. Now it's time for the last part, placement. And you're definitely going to need some kind of pre-placement for those items, and of course your levels and what kind of status you get fall back to for your normal education, because whatever your grade usually get is always usually 1 or 2 grades or levels below, because the school standards are higher and they do have a better success rate, and they are more knowledgeable students, so you might have to catch up. But that is very easy to do because they help you through those levels to kind of get up to speed where you should be. Let's talk about self-care and soul-care. To get the soul-care out of the way first, for some people who are not religious and still welcome to school, obviously. Every possible religious needs, including your own spiritual needs, certain spiritual traditions based on your religion, making sure everything is comfortable for you and everything is abided by and that it's accommodated for, whatever you need. But also, things that needed for self-care is also your health, like do you need medical assistance, or do you need other special accommodations, etc. like that is going to be marked for as well. But on top of that, is also going to be other self-care needs. Mental health, physical health, all the things mental and physical and everything else you possibly need for overall well-being will be dealt with, gone over with you, and worked through so that everything is ready for you, and that everything you need is prepared, and that you're prepared and taking care of yourself to your best. The final include a trainload of needed supplies, and that might take a while, honestly. But honestly, it's not that big a deal, but it is a lot of things you need. Part of the forms on this level is going to be about making sure you have all those supplies from the list. After those forms are finalized, then you're going to wait for confirmation. And when you're ready for the next level, and they're ready, and sure you're ready, you will get a notice of that new level, and you'll be officially a student pre-prep 0, the very first stage. If you are in pre-prep 0, that means you're in the same level as I am. That's the next stage. And that is where I record from, because I am starting that level and getting set up to do that. It is currently for 1 day a week, and it's for 0 to 6 months, or for 6 months long, typically. And that's going to go on for a while. And then there's also a few additional things that I have got sorted out. They are on Saturdays, and that is prep, and they'll be going through all the things on that when I start doing them. Then that's it for this one, and getting it up to from the start to that point and where I'm at now. From there, all the videos will be more focused as it goes. For now, that's the end of this one, and then the others will carry on.